All right. Podcast time, fam. We're in a new setup here. We're trying something new. We got brand new mics. I'm actually super pumped because you're the first person to use these brand new mics.
These things are beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm like so excited to just have good audio. I love the mics I had. It got me through 115 episodes, but something about these ones, this is going to be taking us to the next level. Let's do.
So exciting.
For someone who wants to do zero editing, a lot better right now. Dude, thanks for making this happen. I know you're here for a little bit. This is exciting.
Let's go, man. Great to be here in the mountains.
Dude, you've been coming out here a little bit here and there, and a little skiing, do a little show. I'm impressed with the fun work-life balance you got going on right now.
Bro, I feel like coming out here, it's like I even told my parents when I got in the car, I was like, this is kind of like a happy place. I have something about a rental car coming out of the Denver airport. If I got my skis in the bag,
Yeah.
it's it's gonna be a good week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I that's how it was for me, and then that's when I finally was like, "Oh, I need to make the move out here." I'm like, it was one of those things where I had been coming for a while, and I always knew I, like, wanted to be in the mountains a little bit, but then I finally was like, "Nah, time to send it. I got nothing going on."
How long have you been living in Denver?
Since, oh gosh, July, so almost a year. Coming up nearly a year. Yeah, it's up really 10 months right now, which is wild to think about. My life was so different 10 months ago.
Dude, isn't that beautiful?
Which is crazy, actually. We met that FK.
Yeah.
I did not put two and two together until just now. That is so crazy because oh my God, I had such a fun time with everyone that weekend. And I don't even think, and they, or even you for that matter, like realize I was going through it.
Dude.
That weekend was literally like right when everything in my life like hit the fan, and I was like, and I had obligations to go work at FK, so I couldn't just like
Yeah.
here. So I went.
Well, FK is Forbidden Kingdom.
Oh,
Music
true.
Festival. I don't know if everybody.
Good point. We're gonna hit a wide audience. But no, that's so funny. Anyways, long story short, great fun weekend with you guys. Had a phenomenal time with everyone. Meeting you,
Dude, you still had the good vibes. I didn't even know.
I was just trying to have fun. It was one of those things where you're like, I need to work and just have fun. Like, what are you gonna do? Life's like. Sometimes you just gotta have fun. Something I wanted to bring up, and we'll dive into it right now, right here in pod. You're a Caps fan, huh?
Oh, big time. Die hard.
Dude, it's crazy because I'm a big hockey fan, and I don't have a ton of friends that are like super into hockey. One, I'm excited to talk a little playoffs. We might bore people, but we'll have fun.
We'll be quick.
But I don't know many Cavs fans in a weird way. I know you're from Washington, so you're also Commanders.
DC everything. Wizard, DC Rising, Wiz, Nats.
I love it. I respect it. I think that's awesome when I love it. And I'm born and raised in Tampa, so I am Tampa every day.
Hey, respect.
And people always laugh just because we're, newer team, stuff like that. Like when the Bucks were really good, I remember getting it all the time. Like, you're you a fan just because of Brady? And I'm like,
You're like, I've been here since the get-go.
I've been here when we were
The creamsicles.
Yeah, literally. I'm like, I've been watching games with my grandpa, and we're playing just good enough to lose by a field goal every game. Every game. We're 3-10. Like, this is horrible. So anyways, but no, so you're a Caps fan.
Big time.
How was that feeling for Ovechkin? Because even like as a non-Caps fan,
Yeah.
excited. But like for him to be on your team.
It's really cool because like I've always, there's so many athletes that I admire and who I've seen, have these incredible milestones, and it's never been one that I've truly like resonated with. Like, I don't know. I'm trying to think of Brady, for example.
Yeah.
Like, I acknowledge his greatness, and although I have some family that are big Broncos fans who I've always had like a little second horse in the race with Denver, and Patriots used to ruin their season. So I for many years like resented him, and then I learned to appreciate him. And honestly, I felt like his last like 2 or 3 years in New England, and then obviously the years in Tampa, like I was like almost like I would consider myself a fan of his. And it's like it's cool to see that and to be able to appreciate athletes. Like, I think of Steph Curry is another one that, like, wow, like, talk about someone, especially with his run at the 2024 US Olympics. Like, if you go check out the highlights from that tournament, what he did with LeBron and KD on the court. Like, he still elevated his game above everyone else around him. And so to get to see that with Ovi, who is someone who I remember when we drafted him, like, I remember,
God, that's so crazy to think
dude,
about.
it was,
Career on one team is so impressive. It just doesn't happen that often.
no, it doesn't. It's funny. The arena is called the Capital One Arena now. It was at one point the Verizon Center, and then before that was the MCI Center, which is like a tech dinosaur company that does some like Enron shit. But yeah, so but to answer your question, it is super cool, and it has been really great to see so many other people appreciate him, and I think it's also really unique because he is Russian, and like political, tides are in a weird place.
Changed a little bit with that one.
Yeah, and so I just think that it definitely it is cool and it's refreshing, and like he's sitting there in the locker room with Juicy J, like bands that make a dance. Like it's incredible.
Video of him entering the country club after he scored the goals, and the lady immediately, like, because they know he's coming, immediately hands him 2 beers, and he's just like, "Yep, thank you."
Yeah, ready to rock.
BCJ. But it's so impressive to see, and you hit on something to circle back, which was like you have an appreciation for those grades that you watch and you see them, but then like they're on your team. It's another level to it in sports where you just don't like get it normally. Like I'm sure with same thing with like Jaden Daniels, like you're seeing that greatness, and I can't imagine him not going red court. I can't see a fluke rookie season like that. That'd be crazy. So I don't see it. And the way he plays, I don't see it either. So, but like just to be able to witness that versus like Baker for me. Like I
Yeah.
like seeing or even to go back like when Brady came to the Bucks, I had a whole new found love for him.
I bet.
Like because the same thing. Like I hating everyone hated the Patriots this year. So you're like you acknowledge that he is great, but you hate the Patriots so much that you kind of like subconsciously are almost discrediting him. And then he comes to your team, you're like, wait, this guy really is just he's going to rack. He was like, it's insane. Anyways, but your captain to go far.
I really hope so. I truly I didn't have much expectations for this year. It was more like the OV goal chase was exciting, and I was just kind of along for the ride for that. Um, but with that being said, it seems like our new coach is really getting the team together, and I'm stoked on some of our younger players. It seems like we've drafted really well, and I don't know, I feel like we kind of rebuilt with some of our aging pieces, which you don't see very often. So I'm stoked on that. I'm trying to think. There's an NFL team out there that did that recently. Like, I mean, I would even say the Bills. Like, I feel like no one was expecting the Bills to do much this year, and, it was like, "Oh, okay, you still have Josh Allen, obviously, but, like, Diggs is gone and, like, most of the secondary's gone, and you're kind of just, like, expecting a down year, and, I mean, they're still, again, like, one tush push away from being in the Super Bowl, and it's like, I kinda feel like that could be the Caps this year, like, I wasn't really expecting it, but I'm not gonna say I'm completely surprised, and I'm absolutely pulling for them. So
Yeah, the poor Bills fans. Jeez. They get so close every year just to lose to the same team again and again and again. It's one of those things where you're like, gosh, they just have our number and they can't beat this team. And that's where in my opinion, it comes down to like the coaching. And not that they even did anything wrong the last couple of years, but it's just like, they talk about like, does the coach really matter at this level? And I'm like, yeah, it absolutely does. When it comes like push comes to shove, it comes down to the coaching. And because in NFL too, like something I, something I've always said is like I would never bet on NFL. I don't know if you're a sports better.
oh, interesting.
Casually am, but like I would very rarely will I bet on NFL. Let's put it that way. And the reason for that is because at that level, everyone is on such the same playing field that, in my opinion, it's any given day, any given team can win. if the coaching hits right on that day, we've seen it happen where an 0-18 goes up against an 8-0 team and they somehow win. And you're like, how is that possible? And it's like, because that one day, all those players were in sync, all the coaching was in sync, all the plays were rightly called, all the moves were right made, and they beat them that day. Versus like in college, like that's just not. It might start changing with the NIL money, but like in the past, it's like it's pretty set in stone. Like the top seeds are gonna win because they have the best recruiting because they have the most money.
Yeah, yeah.
And like it's just there's things with that, but like with NFL, I'm like any given team can win any given day.
It's the beauty of it.
Happen. Yeah, and that's what I love about it. But anyways, we're talking a lot of sports. We'll move on here. So I had a question for you. Why, and I don't know if we ever talked about this either, anyways, but why did you pick the name 9B49? I'm so curious about it. I first off want to say I do love it. So I'm not like trying to like why is it like this? Because I don't get it. And I like the way you designed it. I like the way it looks. It rolls off the tongue very easy too. So anyways, I'm just more curious about it.
Well, I looked at festival lineups and I was like, well, if I just make my name a number, I'll be at the. I'm kidding. I'm totally. I've gotten that from so many people. So I had like random people come up to me, friends come up to me, family members be like, "So did you pick your name? So if you're ever on a lineup like A to Z, you would be." I'm like, if I ever thought I was gonna be on a lineup when I came up with it, like 949 is just more of like I think it's more like a mantra, like get whatever you're doing, get after it early. And so, in college we would have, game days, it would be an early 9 beers before 9 a.m. And then, as we got a little bit older, I started, trying to like golf before work and stuff. That's really when it was during COVID when I started the project. And so I guess that was in like 2020. It's
Yeah,
crazy to think it was like
absolutely.
5 years ago now.
That's when I started this. So
Yeah.
I get it.
So yeah, just wild to think about, but it's kind of transformed into its own thing. And I have like multiple different fun like stories behind it. And it means different things to a few different people who have been very close to me throughout the project. But it's definitely like just I think that energy is like what I'm trying to bring to everything. Like
Yeah.
get after it. Let's get after it early. Let's do it. Let's do it right. Like,
Yeah.
um,
Set the standard for the day.
yeah,
For the
100%.
night.
Yeah.
No, I love that. I like the I never thought of the 9 beers before 9 a.m., but like it's such a good. I mean, if they can say we get hyped on the early game days in college, I eat it.
You can't be drunk all day if you don't start in the morning.
That's
So
true.
that's true. This is yeah, unky.
Gotta get the hair of the dog off it first.
Yeah.
That's when.
But it's fun. It's taken on like a life of its own. And yeah, I'm trying to find more creative ways. I have a new song coming out called Item 9 with my boy Samuel David. And so it's just like fun little stuff with it. I think it's kind of taken on a life of its own. And I think I've even had like people come up to me and trying to tell me some of like the lore behind the number 9. And it's pretty fascinating. I think we all have like such interesting relationships with different things, and like numbers mean different things to people. And I know a lot of folks have like sacred numbers that follow them around. And like it's just yeah, it's cool.
Sacred numbers, angel number act.
Angel numbers, yeah. So
Yeah. Do you ever have any angel number experiences? That's something you believe in?
I have some people who I absolutely adore and love who swear by it. And so I know that this world has a lot of things that I still don't understand and am yet to experience. So I wouldn't say that I have found my angel numbers, but I believe that they are out there. And I respect all the I respect the forces that are working around us every day. So
No, 100%. I think that's a good mentality to have. It's better than like one of like fuck us, it's because it's not gonna help you.
not gonna get you very far. So
No, not at all. Talk about bringing that energy and stuff, and that is something I love when I do see you on the stage and I see your videos and stuff. Is that you bring the energy, and there's two questions with that. One, do you have to like prep? Are you prepping for that? Do you have an on stage like, or sorry, before you go on stage, like kind of little ritual you do to get like in the zone, or you just like I'm out, I'm ready to go.
that's like kind of me all the time. Like,
I mean, I know that, but
yeah,
like, I mean, I got better from when we hung out, but I wanted to, it was more a
no,
question,
no.
was just a case or something I'm missing, but
I know what you mean. I mean, I've really tried to, like, cut down, like, alcohol consumption right now. I've never been, like, the biggest booze guy. I've always liked it in social settings, and, like, I definitely love, like, the camaraderie that came with, like, playing beer pong and, like, playing flip cup, and that I think that's kind of what made me enjoy drinking at a younger age. And, like, now it's more like, "Oh, are we gonna have fun making a cocktail, or is this us going out, like, in experience?" And alcohol is, like, kind of what's tying it together, like, so it's not I don't think, like, I need anything to get into that gear. Um, I just really love the music that much, like, to be honest. It's I mean, this is the best job in the world, like, to get to go up, and there are days where it's very hard, and I think a lot of folks who maybe don't um, DJ, producer, my name's Kahan, I go by the artist name of 9 Before 9, and, I get to travel around the world and play my music and other music that I love for rooms of people, and, there definitely are those, like, glamorous, like, pinch me moments, and then there's also those shows where it's like, "Oh, shit," like, they all want Bad Bunny, and I already played my 2 edits, like, and now I'm, like, awkwardly in the spot, and so, I think especially as you kinda climb the DJ ranks, you start to, you know, be able it's more of a luxury than anything to be able to, like, only play the shows that fit your sound.
all right.
And so it's like, starting to get more and more into that space where less of those Bad Bunny requests are out in the crowd, but those will always pop back up. And I've talked to some very prominent artists recently who have even done some like, college shows or maybe other like, hey, this is like a tailgate thing that we really want you to be at. And it's like, okay, well, I play, this is an example. It's like I play 128 BPM tech house, and it's like, okay, that's really great, and I think people could get down to that for hours if they're about it, but you go in front of a college crowd, most kids are,
They want
19, 20 years old, yeah, they want Mo Bamba, so
well, there out there is
it's tough, so, but that's a very long-winded answer to
no,
certain
no, you brought up a lot of a couple other questions with that, which is, like, the luxury. I guess I've never thought of it like that, where, like, it is a luxury to get to that level of playing the music you wanna play to, but it you said it, and it instantly made sense to me. I'm like, "Oh, yeah, that does make sense." Like, you gotta just like with everything you do, you kinda gotta get repetition, you gotta kinda what they say, like, eat shit before it gets better type of deal, and it's like, how much of that are you willing to do before you start to get to that point? Because the prize at the end of that is, in your case, I get to play whatever music I want, and then hopefully with, whatever career choice or someone else goes through, that is the choice they get, like, they get that choice later.
yeah.
But always, like, you always start entry level, just don't think about it that way.
And, well, the other thing is, like, you think of the artists who are your Dom Dollas, your John Summits, your, artists who have these massive global followings and they're making, on each show like 5, 6 figures minimum. And it's like you're talking about like 0.00001% of not just DJs, but musicians all time.
Right, right.
And so I think especially, the up and coming DJ scene market is so oversaturated and highly competitive. And I don't mean oversaturated in a bad way. I think DJing should be viewed more as like skiing or snowboarding. Like anyone can do it. You can go and ride down the bunny slopes with grandma and have a great time, just like you can go back to back with your buddy who's, just started spinning, or you can be playing Ultra Music Festival or at EDC, just like you would be at X Games or, whatever. And so you're sitting here and it's like, would you really be so hard on yourself if you were to think about it this way? Like, I'm trying to learn how to go down the half pipe. Shaun White did a quadruple backflip. Like, am I really gonna kick myself because I'm not able to do that quadruple backflip? Or I don't have these millions of dollars that he's won because he was able to do that? It's like, No, like, this is everyone has such a unique journey and, like, everyone has different ways of expressing themselves and different art forms, and it's just I think if people were to recognize that and to kind of lean into more of this holistic, support each other, because 'cause you're not riding down the mountain with your friends like, "Oh, screw you, I'm gonna get to the lift line first," like, I
No.
mean, you know what I mean? Like, but I feel like it's easy to let that creep into your sort of psyche as we're all sort of drowning in social media every day and all that sort of stuff.
It's it's crazy to me that you brought it up and brought it up in that manner because that is something I have been like really focused on in changing around like my perspective and my view on a lot of things in life, which I started in February. I was like, you know what? I need to like I need to start getting some shit together and like get my mental state like back and like be good. And one of the things I implemented literally for the whole like I was like, I'm doing this every day, like every day. And I was like, I'm gonna do a gratitude journal every day.
I'd love that.
And it was like, if you could do one thing in your life, I think that is one of the most profound things you can do. Start like just being happy and like just existing. Now that I don't still want things and like that, it's not like that. But instead of like looking at it in a way of like, oh my God, I don't have it, or oh my God, I'm not there yet. I'm now looking at it as like, well, yeah, I'm not there yet, but I got a lot of things going for me. And I'm doing a lot of things. So like I'll get there. I just gotta keep at it. Like it's like a whole switch up. But, like, and it was so s and even in the sense of, like, just being happy in that sense, not necessarily that it would work, but, like, just, like, small things like that, like, literally, I remember some days, like, even, like, say I'm having a bad day, and I was like, "Well, I'm still doing this journal." Like, it's might might be at a
I got the journal.
but I'm doing the fucking
Yep.
gratitude journal. And, like, it might be literally as simple as, like, "I'm happy I got to see the mountains today. They're up, that the sun was out, the snow caps are up today. What a good day." And I go to work and I'm like, "Actually, this is a great day. I got a job to think." And they say, "Oh, I'm starting to think about other days." I'm like, "Oh, yeah, I got a
You got
car
2
I
feet,
absolutely car I enjoy. I'm driving the
lungs
I
to breathe air, like,
oh, but yeah, it's all about that perspective and
thumbs. You ever think about that?
it's
Pretty good.
occasionally, yeah, actually, when you
Pretty good. Thumbs are pretty cracked.
you fight with your cat or dog and they can't pick anything up, you're like, "This is crazy."
I got thumbs.
But no, like it's so crazy how that your perspective really does shape and like you said, like how mad can you be at yourself for enjoying the greens
No,
when you just like, you're only a couple years in, I'm enjoying the greens. I'm having a good time out here.
that's
The
it.
worst I thought the people are like, oh, I'm 5 years in and I'm not on main stage yet. You're like, yeah, no shit, you're not. Sean, you say, yeah, Sean White's been out there for, or not Sean, yeah, Sean White, by the way, there for 20 years. You think you're gonna get there in five? I'm like it. I think something you hit on too with like social media. And I do a lot of social media. I also do that with my job, so I'm really well versed in all that and stuff. But it's like, it's so oh my goodness, oh my gosh, every time it moves, these mics are great, but every time like something moves, it like picks it up. So it's like really good with that. So I like kind of hold this, but um, lost my train of thought. I think I was getting on the somewhere. I forgot what I was gonna say.
No, you were talking about, social media.
I think it can really cloud like our judgment with things because we do see like overnight successes, and then you're like, well, I can do that, and it's like that's again like that overnight success is also like a 0.001% chance of what happens, and also you don't know if that person's made a thousand babies before.
I was about to say it's typically like 10 years of hard work, just they behind the scenes, or maybe it wasn't on TikTok that they were putting all this work in, but they have had a YouTube channel for years, or maybe they worked a job like someone, for example, I love this story. The artist Cid. He has some amazing tech house tracks that he runs a great label. Anyway, so he, before he became a DJ and a producer for sort of like his own project and own vision, he was, doing cinematic scores for movies and, helping with the soundtracks for commercials for Sony. And he's like won a Grammy for that kind of stuff. And it's like for all those years, he was developing these skills. And, being the guy, honestly, that a lot of people in this scene would actually go to for advice on things like mixing down, mastering, and all of these other things. And it's like, he kind of reached a point where it was like, well, all these people are paying me to like help them with their projects. Like, what if I just like were to do my own thing? And so it's been really cool to see his project develop. And it's like one of those guys where everyone who you talk to that knows him is just like, oh my God, that's like the best dude ever type thing. And so it's really cool to see people like that, like getting their flowers. And like the whole point that I was getting at is like, you never know what you're working towards. I think if you had asked him 10 years ago, like, do you see yourself being, playing at EDC Orlando and then going straight to EDC Vegas? And then, oh, by the way, we're going to loop you in with the, you know, Thailand and Korea EDCs. And, oh, now that you're doing so well on our circuit, you're going to start doing other. It's like these things just kind of pile on. And it's like, damn, well, if you actually peel back the onion, even before those 10 years of being an audio engineer and all of that stuff, well, you know, 20 years of music lessons or, 15 year, whatever it was. And it's like, all these things develop over time. And I think something that my dad has like always preached to me that I still don't fully follow through on is like, whatever it is that you do, pick that thing and go all in on it. Like,
Yeah.
and then, I think 949, that good energy and whatnot, but like, think it's like, every single day, if you're doing something in 10, 15, 20 years, like you're going to build something. Um, it might not always be what you think, but
100%. I couldn't agree more with that too. That was like another big little success curry that was like ties into things I've been like doing to get full of my life. But like it's something I've been really focused on the last couple of months was like I feel like I was doing all these different things. I had a couple different side projects. I had the Bachelor at Punts and I was enjoying it. This podcast had YouTube. And then I had other projects that were not related to them, but like were like bringing in money.
Yeah.
That's cool. And, like, I'm doing all these things and finally hitting you where I'm like, "Dude, I'm doing, like, all these things, but, like, I'm not doing one as hard as I can because I love it and I'm enjoying it." Yeah, I'm just doing, like, 10 things, and my references is, like, out of 10 levels, 10 being the expert, 1 being, beginner. I'm, like, a 3 or 4 on all of them, but I'm not, like, 8 or above on anything. So, like, yeah, I got jack of all trades, but, like, it's
master of none.
master of none, and, like, don't get me wrong, that maybe helps out in some situations. I'm not gonna say it doesn't, but well, some of those things translate to, like, me focusing more on the podcast. Yes. But, if I was to put the last 5 years, just, like, really go hard on this, like, probably at a different spot. And that's something I realized, like I said, like, in the last couple months where I'm like, I'm gonna just I love doing this. I love sitting and talking. It's so much fun. I walk away every time where I'm like, damn, that was the quickest hour, 2 hours of my life.
Flies by.
And why do I not continue to do that? Because I putting like no effort in it. Like, in a good way. Like I'm not
Yeah, it's
for the sake it flows and I have fun. There you are.
but it's the things that people don't see, the editing, I'm setting up camera, I gotta buy new equipment, I'm having issues with this, even though it should work. It's
Yeah.
like, these are the things that people don't see. And so folks from the outside who, their podcast, back to sports, like pardon my take, that podcast is it's like spiritual to me. I listen to that thing like religiously, almost, twice a week.
Yeah.
I'm listening to those episodes, and it's like I only catch the outward facing positive side of it. And they've worked themselves to a point where now, they just show up, they do their interviews, and they're able to go. But like, you forget for 10 years or however long it was, like they were the ones doing the editing. They were the ones, writing all the scripts and writing the bits and doing all the little stuff. And like, it's like now you see the end result. You see the temple, you don't see the bricks being laid. It's kind of interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. That's something I always say is like, have any cheerleaders always come out of the woodwork. There's a saying, I'm obviously butchering it, but like there's no they always come out of the woodwork at the end and just give you applause. They're never there for the story or the journey upwards, which is so true. There's very few people, not I say there's none, but there's very few people that like stick by a friend or a significant other or family member and like just are like rooting them on the whole time.
Right. We got some good people in our corner.
I think so. I think we got a lot of good people. Yeah. 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 A good group of people. Shout out squad.
Shout out to the squad. You know who you are.
You know who you are. The one dude on a podcast, we are just like, you are, it's good. You tell a story about a buddy, like one episode a couple weeks ago, I was telling a story about how I have this one friend who just he always hits snooze on his alarms, and he'll hit it like 10 times, yeah. And I talk about this all. I'm sorry to those who have heard it before, but I call out all the time because I had memories of us being, we're out all night, or we go out hiking, we're just beat, we're tired, and then the alarm fucking rings, and you're like, oh no, and then it's going up, and it keeps going, and it's later, they're like, fuck, once I'd be so mad, I was like, dude, coming over there and I'm beating you up, we gotta cut it time, bro. So many twos. We do. Is there any funny road stories?
Dude, yeah, I'm trying to think what's um we definitely had some funny experiences with hotels where, you're traveling to a new city. In some of these places, I've been headlining the show, and when you're headlining, it's like a bit of a different stress. It's like you're really worried about filling the room. You're really worried about, each mix needs to be super on point. You have 15 other DJs in the room who are judging the shit out of you, and everyone's trying to find any excuse to throw shade. And it's like, okay, well, I'm checking these boxes. Is the room full? How do my visuals look? Are the lasers on tune? How's my time code with that? Okay. I have these collabs where I might have this artist come out, or I have this on my release schedule. And so I need it. And so all of a sudden you get kind of bogged down with, what you're trying to get done in that day. And one of the consistent comedic reliefs has been, and I have a couple folks on my team. I have two videographers, Nab and DJ. Shout out the boys. My VJ, Dak Visual, Dustin's the goat. A couple other homies that have helped out in a number of other places. But we'll go into the hotel room, and it's like, all right, what do we got? And we come to open the curtain, and the big reveal. It's like, do we have the ocean view? And it's like, we're staying in Boston. Let's see what we got. And they open it up, and it's like another brick wall, 3 feet away with no window. It's just or in Denver once, I had a similar situation where it's like you pull the curtain and it's straight into an old lady's living room, and I'm just like, all right, I guess we're leaving the curtain shut.
Yeah, I obviously I don't tour anything, but I remember traveling one time with an ex-girlfriend, and we were like, let's stop in. We were going through Atlanta on our way back home. And we were like, let's get up and let's just get a nice hotel tonight, with a view. Let's just look over the sea.
Do it right.
And we booked this one, and then we get there, we find out it's only it's in this multi-purpose buildings, and it's only floor 8 through 16 or something. And so we're like, okay, well, that's not gonna be the biggest, nicest view. We get in, the room is very nice, I will say. Shout out to the hotel. But then
You know who you are.
oh, you know what hotel you are. But then we open the curtain, and it same thing, just another brick wall.
Right.
Bro, this
Crazy.
got scared.
Crazy.
All we wanted was a view. And the room could have done shit. We wanted to be I remember that to this day, be like, I can't believe shit.
It's like you just gotta laugh at that point.
It is. Sometimes just the funny things. Oh my goodness. I remember actually another quick funny story here in Denver 2 years ago. A group of us were out here for Decadence, and we rented this Airbnb, and purposely because it have an upstairs. It's part of it, we have, there's 7 of us. It'll be perfect. And it's middle December, so it's 20, 30 degrees out. And at the time, we're all living in Florida.
Yeah,
Used to
you're not even acclimated.
the upstairs, the only way to get to is from the outside. So that's we put 3 of the guys up there, and it was funny, but it was you get home and then you want to just lay down. You're like, I go back outside,
Load them up.
and then they'd have to change. They go back outside to come hang with us. So it was just one of those things we're just all laughing about, because it snowed one of the days too. So there, it's a war. Then put their boots on, you come downstairs, and they take them off. They go back.
It do be like that sometimes.
It does be like that, but it's honestly those times that make the I got one more story. It's gonna tell you. Why not? Well, yeah.
Give it to me.
So Steve to finish my thought, it is those times that like make it boarding pair like same thing like you went back and that was so fun. Those stories still carry out.
Oh, yeah.
Uh, one of my buddies was like his Vegas July 4th. It was a Millennium trilogy, the first trilogy line to Vegas. It's like, why don't you come out to Vegas with me? I got nothing going on. We'll do trilogy. We'll do like Excision night before. We'll do this. What's on? All right, cool. Yeah, fuck, I'll go. Yeah. And in my head, I'm like, I say know him. He's changed now. At the time, it's like I should probably book the hotel.
Playing some shit.
Because
Yeah.
I feel book. And so I remember I'm looking at these cheap ones, and I'm like, that's the only hotel I hope he doesn't pick. And of course, they pull up, and I'm like, we should
This is the one.
so, and this hotel, which I will name, I just cut out. I'm gonna be heard of that. So I'm gonna bigly repeat it.
Yeah.
Pick the hotel. Hopefully, I was like, I hope he's gonna pick this shitty hotel. We pull up, it's the shitty hotel. I'm like, God damn. And it was fucking circus. I don't know if you know it.
I know. It's exactly.
It was circus. And once you stay there, you're like,
Never. Yeah. That's the old side of
I remember walked we in and there's just clowns on the like instead of like the Roman architecture of Caesars with like the pillars are just clowns. There's clown heads at the top. And I was just like,
Dude, it's kind of crazy. I feel like I've heard like a lot of people have stayed at that hotel.
and like, I think they get first time guests, and then after that, it's just like not like I was like, dude, but it's. I just to this day we even talk about it to this day when we're like, I believe he saved it. Goodness, circus. So you're from Washington D.C. What's the grade scene there? It's pretty good. It seems like actors all age stuff like that. I mean, I've never been. I've been to DC. I've been to the crazy.
I think the DC scene is flourishing right now. Obviously, I'm a little bit biased, but there's so many different collectives. Like there are your established like entities right now in DC, like like you mentioned, Echo Stage. It's run by Insomniac, and they have a couple other venues in that space, like within the DC sort of area as well. I'd say like the DMV, DC, Maryland, Virginia is kind of that like tri-state type area. But anyway, I think outside of that, and I don't mean to say like mainstream or commercial, but it is like a little bit more, if there was a radio station for EDM, like those would kind of be the artists that are playing at these major venues, the ones who are kind of like touring in those markets. But I think where DC has really started to separate itself, there's some really unique groups doing just like going out of their way to hunt down artists before they blow up. Like I'm very biased because I work closely with two of these groups, but like New Androids is a collective that has been doing an amazing job finding artists like 2-3 years before they blow up. Like I'm pretty sure I saw Sammy Vergi with one of their shows like 2 years ago or something like that. Like I think they did Hamdi's first US tour. There's another
Hole for them.
yeah, there's another group that works with them a lot called Para, and like they're awesome. Shout out Carter, you know who you are. But outside of that, like there are venues in DC now that are running their venues as if they are in the scene to a degree where like, for example, when we talk about like Echo Stage, or I'm thinking of, Mission Ballroom or like Red Rocks. Like these are massive, I don't want to say conglomerates, but they're like corporate machines to a degree because they have to be run like that. It's the margins are so tight on some of these shows. Like,
Yeah.
you wouldn't expect it. And everyone thinks it's all rainbows and unicorns and like, these fat cats at the top are making all this money. But for every fat cat, there's 100 other, folks who have taken their life savings to try and put on a festival or put on an event or something, and it hasn't gone successfully. And it's like, that stuff happens all the time. And so back to your question of the DC scene, I think there are a number of groups that are doing their own thing very successfully in DC, hitting different niche sounds, hitting sounds more on the Afro house, hitting more on the tech house. There are some like bass scenes that are kind of like starting to grow in that area. And so I just have so much love and respect for that, the whole scene there. And I think um, what's going on is something to put us on the map, like, to put DC up there with some of these music hubs like New York, like Chicago, like Miami, like LA. Denver is like a bass capital itself. And I also think, Denver has a wonderful house music scene now too, which is really cool.
It's been flourishing a bit more and more. Like we got, like I said, we got Dumb Doll coming in. We got Fisher. We said Disco Lines. It's like, they're packed. They're sold out. Take 200 bucks or something like that. Always, it's crazy. So yeah, yeah, a little like DC pride doing that. You know,
Oh,
hometown pride.
100%. And like, I think it's also allowed me to respect other scenes. Like, I know that there's some, collectives down in Florida and some collectives in Chicago and in New York that are it's hard to build a community of people who want to come together, who are willing to spend their hard-earned money on whatever artist it is that you're putting out there or whatever event it is that you're throwing. Like, it is a lot, and so I just mad respect to everyone out there hustling, everyone out there grinding, trying to put their city on the map or the venue that they're maybe working with or the label that they're starting or, it's not easy to get off the ground, and it's kinda back to our point earlier. It's like, you might see Higher Vibrations in 10 years, and it's like, "Oh, well, you know, Solid Grooves, they've been around forever." It's like, well, actually, no. If were to go back to the roots, there are definitely some tough days that all these groups deal with.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
If random question, but I always think about this occasionally with like my own town and stuff. If you were given, let's say, like $20 billion, that's a
Okay.
good amount of money. Yeah. What would you do to like boost up your hometown? Well, and don't just say it all in the hometown, but like you're rich enough to where you're like, I'm gonna invest back into the hometown a little bit.
That's really cool, man.
Yeah, because I'm use curveball here from what we would really.
No, it's a great question. I just think there's a lot of different ways to take it. I think, like, you gotta start with I think, the core of really well-run events is transportation.
Yeah.
And so you got to make sure you have, whether it's your train system or if you have just some sort of, it's probably train, low key. Now I'm thinking about it. The DC Metro is, it's not bad. Could be better. But I also just think like
No metro.
the more and more alternatives. Also, I mean, shit, you're talking billions of dollars. Like, I used to watch the show Futurama. I still have the fantasy of people like flying around the city in little tubes, like just shooting like mail in the old days.
Hamster too.
Yeah, in the hamster tube. So,
Got really high once and thought about like there were just tubes in the sky we weren't aware of it and that's how airplanes travel. It'd be so time. Well, like it was like it's really what I thought.
there's
I'm
there's some really cool like examples. I think in like Southeast Asia, for example. I think like a city like Singapore, although I haven't been, I'm fascinated with their architecture. And there's some cities in China. I can't remember the exact name of the city.
circle with Singapore on like the something we talked about off air, which was like the Hanging Gardens of Babylon.
Yeah, yeah.
And then that is something I've thought about that a lot too, where I'm like, I don't get why these urban developments, especially those that are concerned about like pollution in the city and climate change and stuff of that nature. Like, why don't you make an ordinance where any new building requires to have like almost like a hanging garden feature or like every 3 floors there's some open air balconies where like the plants are growing and or you install like every other floor has these, has a plant. And if the home if the apartment owner plants on the balcony and they hang over, they get like $100 off rent or something.
Dude, not to call out your city, but I think Denver is like the worst at that. It's like
Yeah, dude.
that we're Denver is like granola capital. We love the environment, and then you pull up and it's like smells like dog food, industrial parks everywhere. Like, there's not much greenery within the city like there could be.
Dude, the dog food factory is the worst. They're like, oh, let's put the Purina Chow dog food and cat litter factory right next to downtown Roseland lives. And no, it's only gonna smell like that, when it rains or when it rains. Oh my god, there's times where my first move here, I remember walking out where I grabbed you, and I'm like, "What the fuck is that smell?" It's like a weird, pungent, weird smell, and, like, for a month, I'm like, every Friday it would come, and I'm like, "What the fuck is going on here?" I'm like, "Do I need to move? Am I gonna die?" And then someone tells me, "You live by the dog chief, the dog factory," and I'm like, "Dog factory? It's a food factory."
Dog food factory.
But anyways, yeah, horrendous. Yes, they're pretty bad here. They're like, "Oh, we make up for it over the mountains." That their whole thing is. They think they make up for it. Anyways, we're really off topic. I'm gonna swing back around. I have a few more follow-up questions. We're about 45 minutes here, so I'll wrap it up. So, I know we were on a little bit of a time here, but when you are creating a new music, what horrible wording. Recreating a new song, you're working on a new song, developing one. What are some of the things that you do to like what's that workflow look like? Is it something that is have you had songs that come to you within and this is obviously very layman's terms, but something that comes with you within like a few days, or is it
No, I never told.
progress of a couple of weeks, or is it, hey, I'm gonna work on this every Friday with an hour? Is there a set process? Is there not? Like I'm very intrigued by all that because I know with like content creation and social media, there's sometimes there is and there needs to be a process, and sometimes it's like if it gets too restrictive, you almost like lose that creative juice.
So I think for me, it is a lot of like pulling inspiration from what's around me. And I am in a unique spot where I don't, back to our, what is it? The master of none,
Right.
jack of all trades, master of none. Like I go where I feel the universe is pushing me. And so when I sit down, don't get me wrong, there's definitely times where I'm like, I need to finish this track A today. Like that's what I have to do. But a lot of the times I do give myself that creative freedom to be like, do I want to make a tech house song? Do I want to make a drum and bass track? Do I want to, you know, sample some, old hip hop? Or am I going to try and make a rhythm, flip, some shit like that? So it's more like, where the spark comes from. And so the spark can come from a vocal, it can come from a bass line, it can come from a synth, it can come from an idea. Like for one example, during Christmas this year, I felt like I just finished up a couple of tracks and like I wasn't excited to show a single one of them to my dad. Like some of them are tech house, some of them are dubstep, and I'm like, he's just not gonna resonate with any of these. Like there's just and he loves music and I know he's super supportive and I'm so appreciative of that. And so I wanted to do something that at least would resonate with him. And so there's an old TV show from the '70s called Kung Fu that he used to love, and we used to have the VHSs, and so I just remember like, some of the sayings from it, and just like I just like went on like a little Google like YouTube rabbit hole, and I ended up pulling like the kind of like intro from it, and used that as sort of like the song starter for me, the idea starter. It's like, as quickly as you can, like, snatch the pebble from my hand. And I'm like, oh shit, okay, like I could kind of work with that. And so I had the theme, I had this idea, and what I did was I went and was like, let me think of some other songs that I think, you know, kind of match this vibe. And like truly like there's some like excision, like they're kind of 150 like headbanger stuff. And although I wanted the song to like be something cool to show my dad, I was kinda like, "This is kind of where it's taking me." Like, I kinda hear, as quickly as you can, like, it kind of just, like, flies. It's, like, more of an aggressive vibe. It's so, rather than writing in, 126 or 128 BPMs like house music, I just started building out like a drum pattern at 150 BPM. And then I was like, like, now with these sort of, bass patches added in here, like, wait, what if I turned it up? And I think that the song ended up, it's like weird. I have it at like 155 BPM, which if you're a producer, it's like not like your typical dubstep, but like also is. It's kind of like a weird, it's like faster than normal. So I think, again, you don't really decide where things are going. It kind of happens, I think. And when it's good, I think that's a good producer is when it's good, you know when to kind of like let things be, and when it's not good, you know when to abandon ship. So my process is a little bit, let me if I were to backtrack a little bit, I think it's driven by a spark, and then I like to lay down the drums, and then it's really how can I get through it in a way that keeps me excited.
Right. Yeah. I think nailed the first off, that third point I think is just so important. And I think a lot of people miss out on that. But it's like if you're and I think that's what makes like again, I look at like bigger influencers and stuff because that's something I'm like in that space. So that's something I look at. But I'm like, if they're yes, to some of them, like again, they have structure, blah blah blah, maybe. But at the same time, like if they're not if you tell when they're doing something like, it's I don't know how it's, like, innately human or something, like, you can tell when something's, like, a little more forced, or you can tell they're just having fun, and it's something about the energy of, like, "Oh, I know this person's having fun, I know this is a lot of love and joy behind it," and doesn't not necessarily joy, but just, like, love behind it. Yes, however that comes out, and it just hits so much different, and it even translates more live. It's just, like, something you can feel.
I know we're wrapping up, but I had a funny like interaction with I had met the artist Tate B a couple I guess it was a couple months ago now. And we were just chopping it up. Our homie Flow Zone was playing. Shout out Thomas, you know who you are. And we like we're just sitting backstage, and I was just like letting him know I'd seen a couple of his sets, and a lot of my friends who I adore, like Jimmy, some of our other homies who are like, really into the bass music scene had been hip to Tape B for a while.
Yeah,
And,
yeah.
so I'd kind of been following along with him, and I found just like that segment of bass music where he's taking these rap vocals and he's taking these like old Wiz Khalifa songs that I used to love growing up and making them these like nasty bass anthems. And it's like, I went up and I told him, I was like, dude, I'm like so inspired by you. Like, I just, the way that you're kind of bringing these classics back with a new twist. And like, dude, he just turned around and like, it was a kind of like one of the most like interesting, like anticlimactic moment. It was just like, dude, like, I'm literally just, like, doing what's fun. Like, he's kinda like without saying it, he was kinda like, "Dude, like, chill out." Like, it's like, sometimes it's not that deep, and, like, I think people are and he didn't say this, and I'm just kind of, like, projecting, but, I feel like to his point is, like, dude, like, I'm just having fun and doing what I wanna do, and people are picking up on that,
Right.
and that's what people wanna be around, and so
I couldn't agree more with that. I think like it just oozes when they're like, "Oh, this is fun. That person's having fun. Now we're all having fun," and then it just like keeps snowballing from there.
100%.
Yeah, the energy's contagious. So they always say it about like it's funny. It's kind of funny because they definitely always say that about like with negative energy because it can like drag you down. So it's like, but don't ever talk about like on the flow side, like.
Higher vibe.
Our vibe just brings it, yeah.
Come on.
2 questions left. As number 1, I love the gear you wear on stage. Absolutely love.
Oh, I got the hats in the car. I promise.
Yeah, you're good. It's funny because I was gonna wear like something too. I hate that. Right. So next time, next time we'll wear some
Full match.
I love, for starters, quick side note, I love doing that on the podcast where like we just put some random on head, but like great energy. Like the 100th episode, I had my 2 buddies come just say hey and shoot the shit.
Yeah.
For one, but I like didn't tell them I brought us all sombreros. And so I was like, that's just the podcast starting. I was like, with my
Dude, that's the kind of shit right
I
there.
didn't see it.
That's the kind of energy we're trying to bring to the function.
Yeah, you gotta have some fun. Like, dude, I should have worn my leopard print coat. I should start wearing that on this thing. Anyways, but uh, what inspired to get up? What brought to get up on? I love the drip. It's amazing. For those who don't know, he has a phenomenal cowboy hat and a pair of glasses that he wears. They're amazing. They're awesome. And for the record, before you answer, you pull off so well, dude. I can't basically kill could pull off that one.
You're posterior on me.
No, no.
Um, I I actually started I was my original DJ debut, whatever you want to call it. I guess it was in 2018. I was in a DJ duo with one of my boys. Shout out Kyle, you know who you are. And we were in a DJ duo, and it was Kahan and Kyle. And we wore spacesuits. and it was so stupid, but like people loved it, and they immediately I didn't know what branding was at the time, but we were doing it, and so that's why I think it was just so fun, and it was so like natural, and people were just like buying into the duo, and then you know pandemic hit and Kyle got a great job. We were kind of, just like going in different directions. And so we kind of just put it to rest. And then when 9 Before 9 popped back up, I was like trying to decide if I wanted to go like all in on the golf theme. Like, cause like Nine was a golf and I'm a fan of the artist Golf Clap. He actually just played in DC recently before that. So I was kind of like, like it doesn't really work. Like there's nothing about the music I'm playing that coincides with this golf vibe. Like I'm not Kygo, I'm not playing like tropical house. Like that, I mean, that would be perfect, right? If 949 was a sort of like, Pebble Beach putting green, whatever. But it's not. It's chaotic, it's high energy, it's grab your best friend and scream at them, hug them, and throw them into the mosh pit. Like, so it just became sort of like unhinged, and that's kind of what led me to my original outfit, which was a bucket hat and overalls. And I'd always just have like one overall strapped, one unstrapped, and it's kind of unhinged.
Yeah.
And so
Literally.
it just became fun. It was either white or black overalls, and part of it's also because I was pretty broke, and so I couldn't get too creative with it. So it's like, okay, I got a pair of white and a pair of black overalls. Those are my kind of core, and then I'll get fun bucket hats. And I always, even in like elementary school, I started collecting like snapbacks, and so collecting hats has always been like a fun thing for me. And so I think I have like 50 different cool bucket hats, and like some are fuzzy, some have like, fun, like I've Shrek one. I got like, just like stupid stuff like that. And so we had the bucket hat and the overalls, and that was going for a while. And then it kind of just, I bought, holy shit, I just had a brain blast back.
All right, let's go.
I was in Denver, I think it was 2 years ago. I was playing my first time at Larimer, very full circle. And I walked into the 7-Eleven. It's by the Evo ski shop. I can't remember where in Denver, like what neighborhood it is. Cap Hill, maybe.
All right.
And there was a cowboy hat in the 7-Eleven for like $20, and it's like this big white cowboy hat, and it looked ridiculous. And it just spoke to me, and I just bought that hat, and I wore it, to the set that night. And I think I had the overalls on, but instead of the bucket hat, I rocked the cowboy hat, and it just felt so right. It felt so like liberating. It felt like an icebreaker.
Yeah.
Like I needed that just so people feel comfortable. So people feel like I can dance, I can pop off, I can have fun.
Bring in the vibe.
Yeah.
Screams. Yeah.
And
I'm bringing a vibe. I'm bringing a certain vibe.
exactly. And so then it was maybe a year later where I had, shout out Roxy, you know who you are. She runs a DC brunch club, and they booked me for an event at Dewey Beach, like Memorial Day weekend. Super fun. They do it every year. And he had sent me a link to a disco cowboy hat and was like, "You gotta rock this." And it was like, I didn't buy it immediately.
Yeah.
It like kind of sat on our text for like a few weeks. And I don't know, maybe a month or two went by, and I finally just like bit the bullet. And it's like expensive. It was like $100 or something like that. And I was just like, shit, okay, like, and then it came in and it was like 35 pounds. And I was like, what the fuck is going on here? So
It's
yeah,
not that heavy to this day.
it is. And I've gotten
That's crazy.
RIP Party City, pour one out for the OG.
Hats off.
But they I guess like I I found they had like some sequence ones. They weren't bedazzled on the bottom,
Yeah.
but they were on the top, and it looked great in pictures, and it was a lot lighter and good enough. And so like my last like 5 or 6 hats have been a little bit more like flimsy, but I can't have nice things, guys. So it's for the best. But yeah, that's kind of like the background on the disco cowboy hat. It's come a long way, and it's
I fucks
I
with
think it's here to stay.
it's here to stay. Shout out Roxy, you know who you are.
Shout out Rock.
Good call on that.
Yeah.
Last question. Well, we can answer it quick. We don't have to go into a lot of detail, but I always ask guests when it's their first time on podcasts. So hopefully it's going to catch you up to guard. I usually give a little more into, but we were so pleased.
You're good. We're hanging out.
So, but the question is, how do you live yourself for every day? Steve the podcast. That's why it's Bash Life. LYFE stands for live yourself for every day.
Yeah.
And so, how do you live yourself every day?
Oh man, I lean forward with love at all times. Very fortunate. My aunt taught me this lesson at a very young age. You know, anytime you see someone who is going through a hard time or is spreading negative energy or hate, it's simply a lack of love. It's they don't have the support system that maybe some of us are fortunate enough to have. They didn't have the parents there for them when they needed them when they were younger. They had a sibling that turned their back on them when they needed it. They had a friend who stabbed them in the back, and that's why they're in this position, or they're jaded like this. And so, the best way to handle those situations and those kinds of people is, just meet them with love. And, I people say you get a lot more with like, honey than vinegar. And like, maybe you don't need to get anything at all. Maybe, you just need to be there to try and brighten their day and make them think differently about stuff, because we're all in charge of what we see, what we perceive, and what we feel. And I think if we all just were to be a little bit more aware of that and more intentional on the positive, we'd all be a lot happier and could really spread more love.
I love that. I want to close it right with that because that is amazing.
My God.
Maybe we'll dive right into all that, but we got 949. Yeah. Thank you so much for coming. I'll be able to follow you, all that stuff. I want to say one thing too. I'll put it in the description. Check out his oh my gosh, the Elements set on YouTube. It's great.
Let's go. Check out the Elements one.
Oh, you know that.
Check out the home base set. We got Project Glow next month, I guess June 1st. So that'll be really fun. But yeah, it's at 9 before 9, just the number 9, the letter B, number 49. So tap in, guys. Hit me up if you're ever trying to come out to a show. I'm always trying to, meet the homies, meet the fans, get everyone going. And,
Brings the vibes.
yeah.
Ireland, man. So I'll be on
Love you,
brother.
brother.
Today's is about your nose.
So much love.
Everybody.